I tend to find Affinity pretty technically competent.
For those of you who didn't hear, he was also on my show. I don't know if you would use the word competent to describe that interview, but anyway.
Dominic's got like really great stuff on for things like threshold signatures and distributed key generation. Like he does really Divinity does really contribute to the leading edge of the space, and that's something that I really respect.
When I was learning about like the beacon chain and all that, I was like, oh, this sounds like Divinity.
Yeah.
So I think
Although
I
think Dominic and I, we don't really use the word competitor. We use the possibly euphemism, possibly an aspirational term sister network.
The stock is not the company, and the company is not the stock. And so as I watched the stock fall from 113 to 6, I was also watching all of our internal business metrics, number of customers, profit per unit, everything you can imagine, defects, etc. Every single thing about the business was getting better and fast. And so as the stock price was going the wrong way, everything inside the company was going the right way. And we didn't need to go back to the capital markets. We didn't need more money. The only reason, a financial bust like the internet bubble bursting makes it really hard to raise money. But, we already had the money we needed. So we just needed to continue to progress.
Found out something crazy. I thought by buying an NFT on a blockchain, I was actually the owner of the picture, NFTs in crypto are not actually saved on the blockchain. So what the hell are you then actually having ownership over? I don't understand. All NFTs actually are is a piece of code that tells you this wallet owns number 421 out of the Big Dicked Ape collection. But the actual piece of art, the image, the part about an NFT that has value, the art itself, it is stored on some centralized server of the blockchain. If I buy an NFT, I want to be the owner of the piece of art, literally the image. But the reality is most blockchains are not capable of storing images on the blockchains. They are technically incomparable. Wow, there is one outsider though. This blockchain is designed to store. This blockchain has smart contracts that can hold up to 500 gigabytes of data. This blockchain can run AI models, websites, and applications 100% on the blockchain. And it's actually unique in this sense because no other blockchain can do these things. I know they claim they can, but they do actually not. Do you know which blockchain I'm talking about? Drop it in the comments. I give you 5 seconds. So the project I was talking about is the Internet Computer Protocol, ICP. I know, you think it's a scam. It's probably the least scammy blockchain in the whole entire space. Wow! Trust me, you have to look into it. You want to know what is the best blockchain to invest in right now? And I've got the answer. Because what do all blockchains have in common? They are distributed computer networks. So ask yourself, what does this computer I want to invest in actually do? How strong is the computer? All of a sudden it becomes crystal clear. The ICP, the Internet Computer Protocol, is the only blockchain that can actually run applications and host large language AI models on the blockchain. I'm not lying, this is true, these are facts. Wow, I know the price action is very discouraging, but I need you to look into this project because it's the biggest opportunity in all of crypto. Trust me.
You can't run the world on this kind of flaky infrastructure that can get hacked and encrypted with ransomware and can just stop working and things like that. And there are 8 billion people in the world now, and you can't support that kind of population without huge automation using information systems, right? And people forget, like, you take away the computers, like the vast majority of people on Earth die, right? Computers are absolutely essential today to supporting human life.
That's it. Computers and bees.
Yeah, and bees. Yeah, don't get me started on that one. Like the bees disappear, we've got big problems. So it doesn't make sense that we're going to be building with this kind of old school traditional IT that really evolved from the earliest days of computerization. And my first computer had 8 kilobytes of memory. It doesn't make sense. That a lot of the way we build stuff today is, related to the way things evolved over time. It wasn't like there was a clean piece of paper. What's the best way of devising a platform to build on? So for me, blockchain is that future platform, right? Tamper-proof, unstoppable, you have autonomous code, tokenize things. I mean, it's all these huge advantages. So for me, in the end, people won't be building on Amazon Web Services and Google Cloud and Microsoft Azure or using their own servers and data centers or anything like that. People will build everything on blockchain. Blockchain will store all the data, process it, serve the user experiences. And that's what a world computer is to me.
Crypto assets are a sophisticated Excel sheet. And what that means is everyone's account, everyone's assets are tracked on this Excel sheet or this ledger that has truth baked into it, a system of checks and balances to make sure whatever is on the Excel sheet is truth. When the XRP ledger came along and Ethereum came along, they added logic to the Excel sheet. So each account, if this happens, that happens. They're able to add programming into the accounts, into the assets. And this is where escrow comes in, tokenization comes in. Those advancements took crypto to the next level. Now, ICP represents a new paradigm. They create subnetworks, and what they are a bunch of computers that have specific hardware requirements. And these bunch of computers get together from the beginning to make up a decentralized application or a dApp. Now, the decentralized application is just one application. So you have a subnetwork for one application, and you're able to store data. You're able to store processing power. It has the ledger capability, so the same thing as Bitcoin and Ethereum and XRP, but it also, you're able to bring data on chain. You're able to have a cloud computer that's decentralized from the very beginning, a decentralized computer that's on the internet. Now, the developers pay for the tokens to host their decentralized application. So that means that the user doesn't have to worry about gas fees. They don't have to worry about too much, and the developers take the brunt of that. So this means that decentralized applications need to be profitable for these dApps to last. Now, this also means that it's infinitely scalable because each subnetwork is its own blockchain within a larger global blockchain. And this means that you're able to have an infinitely scalable network.
Very nicely. I mean, at the core of it is something called chain key cryptography that makes it possible to run lots of what we call subnet blockchains that are able to combine themselves into a single blockchain.
For our industry, it'll be the first time ever our industry saw a significant decline in developer activity. You can see the stats there on that bar chart on the left. We've seen a significant amount of developers leave the industry as a whole, but we kept pushing forward. I like this. I like that little astronaut moving through because we're moving forward. If we go to the next slide, you'll see that while we have not necessarily gained as many developers as we did in 2022 and 2021, given the context of the industry, we remain pretty flat.
Since its capability is like a computer, you can really build anything that's on the internet, but better.
We're probably the biggest R&D operation in blockchain, which is a little known fact. We have a team of just over 200 people. We employ several of the world's top cryptographers. Dfinity, I first started talking about Dfinity back in 2015.
I rarely hear arguments about ICP's tech. Most of the time it has to do with how it was launched, how much it launched for, and in my opinion, those are bad arguments because I want to buy assets that are cheap and sell them when they're high. ICP came out at the peak of the bull run. There was a lot of excitement and exuberance. Not to mention there's some rumblings that this had to do with FTX. FTX purposely made the price really high to cover some of their losses. I don't know. It's irrelevant to me. I believe in the actual protocol. I believe in the amount of developers that tell me it's super easy to develop on ICP. It's easier to develop on ICP than it is with AWS. I was told by one developer that in order to use AWS, you have to learn AWS, and that's a bad model. So if we're able to bring down the cost of everything to these decentralized networks and they're able to compete with the larger scale networks, I think ICP is one of the better protocols for this. And I think with the amount of developers, so they have some of the best working for DFINITY, they have some of the best using the technology, and that's what I care about. Economics become redundant if it can rationalize an exchange that sells the future of humankind.
He chose to be homeless because I want to invest as much as my capital as possible into the internet computer blockchain. It's very annoying though, the price of the project just doesn't want to go up because the foundation doesn't want to spend any budget onto marketing. But they are not stupid, they are very smart. They want to spend their money on other things. I'm gonna let Steve Ballmer from Microsoft explain why it's so important.
The key to industry transformation, the key to success is developers, 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 developers. Yes!
What if everyone could create online apps and services just by talking? Tomorrow, with the self-writing internet, everyone will be a builder.
So now you know why ICP has the best, by far, technology in the whole entire space.
And evolve websites and applications just by talking. For decades, we built the internet by hand. Code, servers, big tech. Then came AI. And it changed how we imagine building. Now we're unlocking the next paradigm, where AI doesn't just help write code, it builds and updates running web apps in real time. This only works on a new kind of internet, one that's secure by default, real-time by design, and sovereign at its core. You own what you create. With Caffeine, you can prompt AI to build any website or web app, deploy code, add functionality, and upgrade software instantly, without writing any code, touching a server, or configuring a thing. Websites that live, that adapt, that evolve at the speed of conversation. CaffeineAI. Say hello to the self-writing internet.
Hyperlocal esports. Actually, one of the problems with esports generally is it's very difficult to prevent people cheating. That's why it's often done in stadiums. It's very easy to hack it. And one of the biggest problems with public game servers, things like Call of Duty, is there's all these bots, and it's kind of unfair. And this really makes it very difficult to create esports where you might have like a cash prize or a Bitcoin prize or something like that. But if you're just doing it with your mates and you're creating the esports, the hyper-local esports platform for yourself.
I created a hyper-local esports system for me and my pals. We compete playing browser-based games for a Bitcoin pot.
Possible, right? That's another example, I think, of the way things are going to change in the future. The way we see the internet will change. So those are really consumer examples. I think it's heartening to see that the evolution of the web and the internet and the paradigms that exist hasn't really ossified in the way that we might imagine. It's probably only just getting started. The enterprise, of course, is going to make huge gains in terms of efficiency and velocity. So here's a kind of breakdown. Entrepreneur startup, one-person startup. I mean, you've probably heard a lot about that. I think the one-person startup meme is actually very real. Startup from the developing world, like that's a big deal. Like, I lived in Silicon Valley and Palo Alto for many years, and I can tell you it's much, much easier being an entrepreneur in Silicon Valley than it is in London, where I came from originally. If you're in the developing world, I mean, very difficult to be a startup entrepreneur, but these kind of tools are going to help people. They're going to democratize access to the tech economy and bring a lot of new talent in. Even if you've got a big team here, you're going to get more velocity. You could use it for personal branding and community, like create yourself a personal branding website and some kind of like social media attached to it. You can use it to design advanced Web3 functionality. So one of the interesting things with the Internet computer is it's powered by a lot of, it's a mathematically created platform, and it's got a lot of very interesting cryptography inside, so it can interact with Web3 blockchains trustlessly, so you can do that. SME, I mean, e-commerce website, tennis booking session. But then you get into the NGO space, and you can imagine it, refugee assistance, a school district fundraising project, but also within the corporate and government environment, there's a lot of applications. And we've been doing early demos to governmental agencies, and they're very interested. Because of course it's really hard for them to develop stuff. So there's the obvious applications like CRM and ERP and workflow management and intranet portals. But you can also give like departments a certain level of independence. And that kind of starts about now. And the change with self-writing is that the entire app lifecycle is a conversation. So rather than having an engineer typing code at a keyboard, you can have a completely non-technical person or a technical person just interacting with AI in a conversation, which is triggering successive updates of the app and successive deploys of the app almost on a continual basis at sort of chat speed. Of course, anyone could implement a self-writing paradigm platform, but today we're going to be talking about the way we've done it, which is this platform called Caffeine, which has an ensemble of AIs inside. The AI writes writes code in a language that's specialized for AI called Motoko, and that's that kind of friendly ghost icon you see. And then it's deploying it to ICP-based networks, in this case, the public incarnation of ICP called the Internet computer. Within the context of something like self-writing, it's being asked to do something that no human can do. It's writing code very quickly, and it's also updating and migrating running systems almost in real time. So the best way to do that is to provide AI with a tech stack that is specialized for the needs of self-writing as opposed to vibe coding, which is using a traditional tech stack or craft coding. So, and in fact, with Caffeine, we will open up hooks that enable it to be used in a vibe coding pattern. And of course, there are APIs on the Internet computer that any craft coder can use. So just to be clear, none of that's going away. But you might be wondering what the fourth paradigm is. And it's what we call the fluid web. And you can get a hint of what the fluid web will be by looking at something like Perplexity, which is kind of like a search engine, but it kind of combines all these different sources of data and makes kind of a new informational resource for you. If you can imagine the equivalent of that for functionality, where AI is just generating the user experience on the fly, and that user experience can incorporate and combine functionality from lots of different apps. I mean, you can, if you wanted, you could create a layer, and you could turn the entire existing web into a sort of library of microservices or something, right? And then you could have an AI layer over the top of that on the fly combines that functionality and creates a user experience for you. Like, for example, if you want to book a flight, it could create your own version of Kayak, but with some more telemetry, giving you indications what's the best price and so on.
Oh, and just to tie a bow on this, it looks like Google owns roughly 14% of Anthropic. And this was from January of 2025. Google agrees to new $1 billion investment in Anthropic. And it looks like Amazon owns roughly 22%, something in that range. But from what I read, Google is capped at 15%, and Amazon would be capped at 33%. And so that's how much of Anthropic Google and Amazon already own. I just want to end with a disclaimer, the same way I started with a disclaimer, but we will find out more details when we are able to find out more details, okay? I would just strongly recommend doing your own research and really getting beyond the surface level research and really looking into, because I didn't know this until today, right? I didn't know this until I went looking for it. But I would strongly encourage people to go looking and do your own research and spend less time on crypto Twitter just scrolling and doing more deep research, because there's a lot there if you start to go looking around. Now, again, I have no idea the whole situation with CaffeineAI and Anthropic Sonnet model being used with CaffeineAI to whatever degree. There might not be anything else to it outside of what we heard yesterday. I just want to really, really stress that point. There may not ever be any licensing, royalty, revenue sharing agreements in place. There may never be any official partnerships in place. I have absolutely no idea. I just wanted to present those questions in those scenarios so we could look at this from a different perspective, so we can kind of start looking at this from more of like an institutional perspective outside of just like a retail investor. That's all I have for this video. This was not financial advice. Do your own research. Take care. Have a good day. I'll see you in the next video.
Colin Woods, Managing Director of CW8 Communications. He is joined by William Stranzel, go-to-market at Anthropic, and again, Definity's own Pierre Samatiers, Chief Business Officer at the Definity Foundation. Let's give them a warm welcome.
Thanks, Tracy. Thank you all. No small feat to follow that announcement of Alpha Access. We may lose a few online viewers who've dived into the wait list, but for those of you still here, really important topic here today, looking at AI as an engine of innovation and growth, but specifically in the business and enterprise context, which we know is this great litmus test for scale and adoption. So we're just going to start with some quick introductions about who you are and what you do. So we'll start with you, Will.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. My name's Will Stranzel. I'm a member of the go-to-market team at Anthropic. We are the creators of Claude, Claude 4, Claude Opus 4, Claude Sonnet 4, and those great models. And I've been at Anthropic the past year and a half. I've seen many businesses building on top of our APIs, using Claude Code, using Claude for Enterprise, and the entire suite of products that we offer. So super excited to be here and chatting with you all.
Great. And Pierre?
Well, yeah, thanks, Pierre, Chief Business Officer at Definity. Great to see everyone. I'm leading everything around business-related topics and enterprise adoption-related topics and partnerships at the Definity Foundation.
Great. And I know for the purpose of this room, 2 introductions that probably spoke for themselves. So now the formalities are out of the way, we can dive in. So